I spent 2 years looking for one witness, and I ended up finding two. Hi, my name is David Price, and I'm a personal injury attorney here in Greenville, South Carolina. One time I represented a patient who had been sexually assaulted by a male nurse in a hospital emergency room. This particular nurse had assaulted multiple patients and had been investigated and prosecuted criminally. My client's assault had occurred in the year 2010, which was a couple years prior to the criminal investigation and prosecution. We sued the nurse, of course, but we also sued the hospital. When you sue a hospital or any employer for conduct committed by their employee, you must prove either that the conduct occurred within the scope of employment or that the employer had a reason to know that it needed to supervise the employee to prevent the conduct for which you are suing. In this particular case, clearly sexual assault of the patients was not within the scope of employment for this hospital. So to prove the case about why the hospital should be liable, I had to prove that they had a reason to know that this nurse might commit this type of conduct. After 2 years of litigation, I was struggling to find an instance prior to my client's assault that I could use as notice to the hospital that they needed to supervise this particular nurse to prevent this type of conduct. I was able, however, to obtain the investigative file from the police department who investigated this patient, and I was able to determine that a patient had come to the police and reported that she had been sexually assaulted by this nurse in 2008, 2 years prior to my client. She stated that she had called the hospital 3 times and left voice messages attempting to complain about the incidents, but the hospital had not returned her call. That made me wonder whether I had received all the information I needed from the hospital. So I filed the appropriate motions and discovery requests, and finally I obtained one piece of paper from the hospital that indicated that they had in fact received a complaint about this nurse from a patient in 2008, 2 years prior to my client's incident. I, of course, thought that this was the evidence of the complaint about the lady that I knew about. However, the piece of paper I had from the hospital did not provide the name of the patient or any information about the nature of the complaint. I filed the necessary motion to compel, and we went to the court where the hospital argued that they could not possibly provide the identity of this complainant because she had a right to privacy and she would not want her name to be known. The court said that the hospital should contact this patient and determine whether she did in fact object to it providing her name to me. The hospital did that, and the patient immediately called the hospital's attorney and told her that she did in fact want to talk to me. This patient called me and told me that in 2008 she had called the hospital and reported to them that the nurse had followed her down the hall, made multiple lewd comments about her rear end, and then had stood in the examination room and watched while she changed clothes. She had told the hospital about this conduct and reported how it made her very uncomfortable. However, the hospital did not fire and did not add any increased supervision of its nurse after this complaint. As a result, he was able to assault my client and many other patients. Once we found this evidence and notice to the employer, we were able to secure a substantial but confidential settlement for my client. If we had not knocked on every door and obtained every document we could from every source and read every word on every document, then in this particular case we never would have been able to prove why the hospital should have known that this could happen and the steps it could have taken to prevent this from happening to its patients. If you have been injured at a hospital or by any other party, then I would encourage you to call us today. Our phone number is 864-271-2636, and our website is greenvillelegal.com. I promise you that here at David R. Price Jr. PA, we will find all the necessary witnesses to win your case. We will provide you the personal, dedicated representation that you deserve.